Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Living on the Verge podcast. It's me, Virginia, your host, and today I have a special guest. We are going to be talking about The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 6, Episode 1, the big premiere that has been anticipated for so long. My son, Corey, is here to talk all about it with me. How are you, Corey?
I'm all right. That was a heck of an episode.
Right? Okay, I'm curious. We haven't talked at all about any of this. And in fact, when I spoke with Sarah, I purposely did not talk to her about the episode because I wanted this to be really organic. And I want to know on a scale of 1 to 10, and I've already written my number down. What did you give this premiere?
Ooh, okay. Let's see. I didn't really think about a number scale, but I mean it's up there. I guess like a eight. I'll give it an eight. That was a pretty great one. I think it was
Okay.
good. I think it
Okay,
was
this
full
is
of.
going to be very interesting because I gave it a 5.
Oh no, I liked it. I loved it. Yeah, it was full of LOL moments to me, for sure.
It was definitely zany, but I think that's part of what I didn't like. It almost seemed too produced. I feel like the girls could have really sat down and written the episode out ahead of time. That's how produced it seemed to me. But let's jump in. Okay, so it all starts off with the voiceover with Mary talking about true friendships unfolds over time, blah, 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 right? And what did you think of the whole Blair Witch Project wannabe situation?
I mean, that was funny, I guess. It was corny. It was, shoehorned in, but I mean, they got to fill they
Well,
got to fill
and
their
it,
time, right?
yeah, and it kind of went on through, it was like a continuing theme throughout the whole episode, which I guess was fine, but again, highly produced. And there couldn't have been this continuous thread if production wouldn't have provided the camcorders that we'll talk about, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, it all starts off with Angie and Mary's Class A getaway.
Yeah, I don't know how Mary got roped into that one.
My favorite part was when they first get in the RV and then they show the Chiron and they cross out, it says Angie and Mary's trip, and then they cross out Mary's name because she
Yeah.
wants to know how the hell she even got into this. Um,
Yeah, I guess by virtue of being the very first one picked up, she just kind of happened to get thrown on the driver's seat in that one.
Well, and if you remember, the season ended with Mary and Angie being bestest friends. So it stood to reason because there aren't that many other people that get along that well with Angie right now. So it had to be Mary, right?
Makes sense.
Okay, so before we talk about the trip, can we just spend 1 second talking about Angie's confessional dress?
Oh, that thing's crazy. Yeah. When immediately I was like, what the hell is that?
Okay, I'll have you know that that is a $6,000 Yves Saint Laurent gown.
Of course, you looked it up, didn't you?
I did not. I heard it on a podcast. So there. Normally I do that, but somebody did it for me this time. Joke's on you. Okay, one other thing before we talk about the actual trip. Did you notice in the flashback, I was completely taken aback by, I don't know if you've watched Watch What Happens Live this season at all, but
No.
Andy looks so different from last year to this year.
I
I
mean
don't
it
know.
it it auto played for me the other day, so I saw his different haircut. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got longer hair.
The
I don't
whole
know.
beachy look, and he looks all soft. And I'm like, okay, Andy, with the glow up, I hear you. It was like striking. Last year, he had the real close cropped hair, and it was very salt and peppery. And this year, he's looking very different. So good for him. But anyway, okay. So Angie shows up in the Camping World RV with Mary to none other than Beauty Labs to pick up the girls.
Beauty Lab, that's the place. Is that the significance of that place? Is
That's
that the
where
Jen
that's
Shaw
Heather's
place?
That's where Heather's business is. That's Heather's business, and that's where they met when Jen Shaw got arrested. Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. Now that makes sense for me. Yeah, I didn't realize the significance when I was watching that.
What'd you think of this scene?
I mean, the pulling up was dramatic. It was funny. And I laughed at all the girls' faces, like, what the hell? Like, I laughed at everyone pulling up in their outfits, especially Brittany's bikini. That had me dying.
I'm okay. That was freaking hysterical. It was. But to be fair, I mean, come on with the invitation.
I mean, yeah, that goes to what you were saying about it being highly produced. Definitely yeah, you could tell the whole thing was like a setup, and yeah, I mean,
Exactly. But I
but
mean,
the show's always been that to a degree. I mean,
yeah, well, that's kind of the fun of this one, right? That's why we get the different music in this one and all of that stuff. But
yeah.
I don't know. It just, it was funny. It was very funny to me because I thought, okay, even if she was right, would she really have shown up in a bikini? Like, come on.
No, she was just trying to get her camera time. She probably had a some kind of dramatic reveal planned or something in her head. You know how Brittany is. She's always just trying to steal a couple moments. She just has the worst timing.
Okay, now I do know about Britney because I posted a picture of her hair with the big old bump in it. And I called her out and I said, bump it much? I hear
I
it's a
just
sock.
saw that. I was shown that moments before starting this.
And she replied, it's not a sock, it's just ratted. I
Funny.
died. I had to call somebody, so I called Sarah. But my gosh, I was just like, okay, yeah, this girl definitely is in the comments. She's responding to me.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But it was fun. It was kind of cool, a cool moment for the podcast, nonetheless. Um, but anyway, okay, so they all head out, and we have Bronwyn the germaphobe, and Mary the reluctant traveler, and Angie the tequila holic. I don't know what her deal was, but she had one focus, and that was to publicize her new tequila brand.
Oh, is that what that was?
That's exactly what that was.
She
She
didn't
is
do a great job. She just
no, because we don't even know the name of it,
Yeah,
and
I didn't see the brand. She didn't, and maybe they cut around it. I don't know. Maybe she was too cheesy with it or something, and the
I
producers didn't like it. I don't know.
could be, or maybe the producers are Lisa stans and they didn't want any competition for Vita Tequila.
Why is everyone afraid of Lisa? She just yells loud. It's
Thank
'cause
you.
because she has that like I don't know. She kind of has like a lower, more masculine tone when she gets loud, and people are afraid of that. I guess I don't know.
I think that it's the fact that she stays composed and everybody else is so easily excitable that gives her the, I don't know, the upper hand. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the way it works in social circles like that.
Well, Lisa definitely did not have time for this RV trip. And in my opinion, it ends up being the RV trip from hell, but that's a whole other thing. We'll talk about that later. She did not show up and it becomes a subject of fodder. It's all over Instagram that two things that she did this by design so that she would be the subject and be able to therefore negotiate even more, or two, that it was just because she was in legitimate contract negotiations and she didn't show up for the trip. And also, she knew that what they were going to do, and she used it as an excuse to escape.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I think
That's
both of them are pretty good possibilities. There's really no reason why she should have not been ready to go, and um, except for the big flex.
I mean, yeah, I think that was so cringe when her Ben and Blake name dropping
Yes,
is
she says, I have a full life, but I keep it private. Just so
yeah,
you
that was
know,
weird.
you could be over there. I'll be with Ben and Blake. And so we don't know who the hell they're talking about until they show pictures of Ben Affleck and Blake Lively, who, by the way, I would not want to be with. I might want to actually go on the RV trip. But okay, so Brittany and Lisa, when did they become new best friends?
Yeah, that was weird that Brittany started defending her for no reason, just out of nowhere, just brought her up and then like started bringing Whitney's business into it. Like, what was that about?
Well, yeah, and to be fair, Whitney did start it. Whitney was kind of dragging Lisa, and then, but it was
Well,
just
yeah, but
weird to me
that's
that
what they do. That's what
I
they're
know.
here
Well,
to
that's the
do.
whole idea, right?
They're here to make this episode about talking shit about Lisa, and then they got a nice arc set up for when the fallout from inevitably everyone snitching, their various versions back to Lisa, and they're setting it up to be a big explosive moment. I just don't understand why like Brittany decides to jump in. Like I said, I think it was Brittany seeing her opportunity to hop in on a storyline that's budding or brewing, and she's like, "Well, I need to get in on the ground floor. Let me say
Mm-hmm.
something reckless."
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
think we're going to see a lot more of that with Brittany. I mean, just based on her communication with the podcast, it tells me that she is like literally out there watching every reaction to what she does. And what she wants is time and space, and she's getting a lot of it. I mean, to be fair, she is. Now, is she holding a snowflake this season, or is she a friend of?
No, I don't know.
I
I
can't
don't know. I
remember
didn't
right now.
notice.
I
The
can't
only thing
remember
I
right now.
noticed is that they got Whitney all the way off to the side. I was like, "That's crazy." I was
Yeah.
like, I like Angie being in the center though. Angie's my favorite.
Angie's my favorite too. Angie's real. And I love that even when things start to get crazy, she's just like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're just not. But anyway, let's not skip over the ridiculous SWAT team that arrived and the antics. Did
Oh, that
you
made me laugh. Those dudes, that was so awkward because those those dudes had nowhere to go, and the ladies were all trying to stay towards the back, and they weren't trying to engage, and those dudes just ended up like piling into the RV and dancing with each other. Like, I don't know, it was
It
pretty funny.
was weird. And
It
they
was
did
pretty
not
funny.
look like strippers like at all. They were a little bit
I think like two or three of those guys were actual strippers, and then they just had like, production crew dress up in the same outfits to make it look more, make it look more intimidating.
apparently, you wouldn't believe how hard it is to find strippers in Utah. So there you go. Um, I don't know. Well, they finally the strippers come and they go, and it's supposed to be a big old riff on when Jen Shaw got surrounded in the bus when they had met there before. And it was kind of a ha ha chuckle moment, but it kind of bothered me. And let me tell you why. Because now you see this happening, and they remind you that 4 minutes and 1 second or whatever earlier she had called the strippers. Well, I call bullshit. Like they had to have known that they were going in an RV because they knew that they only needed the strippers for X amount of time. And I know I'm kind of blowing the like happiness off of this, but I just feel like if they're gonna do it, then they need to be careful about contradicting themselves or, showing things that just don't make sense. And to me, that didn't make sense. Like, how are you going to have these people just
I know,
happen
I
to be
know,
there?
I know I'm a part of the audience that's watching the show and you are too. But I mean, I think you're giving us too much credit. I don't think most of the audience really cares to to dig that deep into it. I
Yeah,
think
you're
maybe
probably
because
right.
the more you watch, the more you notice, and you've been watching long enough to notice things that go right over my head all the time. So
Really?
I don't,
Okay.
yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't think that that's much of a factor.
I thought it
You
was
know,
weird. Everybody happened to have singles. Okay. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, it was definitely set up, but that's the point. Again, that's the whole, like you said, it was meant to be a big ruse on Jen Shaw, and then everybody pretended to have fun, and yeah, you could practically hear the producers off camera saying, "Okay, now we're gonna get this shot. All right, now
yeah,
everybody stand
exactly.
here, and
I don't
here's your
know.
ones."
Maybe it's because I've been watching the franchises for so long that I am hypercritical when it comes to production
Yeah,
overproducing, you
and
know?
you've been to the tapings, so you see how it works. I think that's really what a lot of it probably comes from.
Maybe,
That
but I think a lot of it comes from just the old school, back in the day franchises like the Orange County. It was so organic that that was the charm to me. And I feel like it's losing that a little. I'm finding that the franchises that I'm enjoying more this season are the ones that are having those unexpected moments. But I mean, this is still one of my favorite franchises just because I like all the characters. It really does feel like a comic strip or something to me.
Yeah,
But
that's a really interesting perspective because I come at it not having watched any of those previous franchises. I come at it as a new fan from Salt Lake, basically. That's how I got into it.
that's
What?
true.
Yeah, watching my wife watch it over, her shoulder while I'm on my lunch breaks was like seeing these just crazy, hilarious things that are happening on the screen and being like, who are these people?
I know.
Like really, it was Mary that got me in at first. Mary calling Heather inbred. That is some of the most hilarious shit I think I've seen.
Mary's pretty priceless. She really is.
Oh, it's great.
I mean,
The
she
things
had a
these
couple
people.
of seasons that were rough, but I think now she's become really one of the prized possessions of the franchise as a whole because you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who doesn't like Mary.
Yeah, her and Meredith. Meredith had explosive moments. The two of them are just hilarious to me. Like the smash cut they did to to Meredith's her you're recording us.
Mhm.
That was great. I hope they keep cutting to that every opportunity they get. I love that scene.
That is a good scene. You know, Meredith has some amazing one-liners. Just, I mean, if you think about all the t-shirts that we could manufacture just based off of Meredith. And let's talk about, okay, what about when Mary said, do you know how some people just get on your nerves?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you know
I
people like that they just get on your nerves?
yeah, I have some coworkers that aren't the greatest, but yeah, there's definitely people like that in everyone's life, for sure.
Right. Okay, well, you can't go and tell everybody to listen to the podcast if you're going to diss them. So it's not the coworkers. Just kidding. So Lisa apparently too busy for this trip, but nonetheless the cause of all of the conversation. And why is it that before long, Brittany and Whitney are going at it over the fact that Whitney said something that Brittany didn't like. I loved that Whitney took the opportunity to clear the air and take the wind out of Brittany's sails. I really did. What
When
do you
was
think?
that? You're talking about around the campfire?
Yeah, when she later basically just said, "Look, I lost my business, man," and
Oh yeah, that was beautiful. That was amazing. She destroyed her. She destroyed her.
right?
She made the whole group. She made Brittany feel stupid. She made the whole group feel sorry for her. Everyone, that was great. That was
Yeah,
well
and
timed.
it
It,
was
it, it was
beautiful,
yeah. They
priceless.
built up to it because they had so many like little kind of run-ins before previously in the day, and that I think Whitney probably had a lot of time to sit on her thoughts about like how she was going to respond, and she really executed that well.
I think Whitney has really grown up on this show. I mean, what a different woman than season one and how she would have handled it back then.
Yeah, she's good at saying uh like she's just good at saying the right thing at the right time. She has good timing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I know we got ahead of ourselves, but I couldn't wait to talk about that moment because to me it was kind of indicative of where this season goes, which is why it bothers me that Whitney is apparently not having much of a showing this season. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to really have a lot of stuff going on personally, and I think that's kind of what the storylines feed off of is, personal drama being brought up by somebody else in the group. That's kind of the formula for Bravo.
Right, but I mean, she does have drama. I mean, granted, she nipped it in the bud, but I suppose it could be continued. Anyway, how about the driver in the big, humongous Utah hat?
Oh, that guy was funny. That guy, poor guy, man. That's
Right?
that's I identify with that guy.
I my favorite part was the look on his face when they panned to him when all of the shit came flying out of the refrigerator. It's like, come on. And then they panned to Angie and she's just shaking her head, drinking shots straight out of the bottle of tequila. I was like, they haven't even gotten there. This is going to be quite interesting. So then they
hmm
do get to the campsite and it looked like I don't know. I mean, there was garbage, there were abandoned
It
cars.
looked like a campsite.
It looked like a tweaker campsite. Sorry. Um, I would not have wanted to stay there. I mean, maybe to me, that was another production thing. Like, I have a feeling that that was like an entryway into the area. And then there was like a proper campsite for RVs in a different area. And they just used that footage. But it got me because I was like, this would be a little bit creepy. I don't know that I'd want to stay here. So they get there, they set the table, they sit down, they have lunch, and then they start talking about, well, Bronwyn brings up Lisa's lawsuits. And I don't know if you,
I just gotta say before we get to that, that the shot of them getting off the RV in their heels and their fucking fur coats and all that, that shit was funny.
it
Mary,
was, which way
Mary
do
trying
we
to walk
walk?
around. Yeah, that was great. That was great.
It was. Well, I mean, to be fair, they kind of punked them with the whole what we're doing and where we're going. But I mean, it was also by design that they parked right in front of that puddle. Either he could have parked, flipped the truck around and been on the other side, but no. Um, so anyway, let's talk about Bronwyn and how she came after Lisa. You don't follow social media, so you, I'm sure, were not aware of when this was going on in real time. Um,
No, not at
okay.
all.
It was all over the internet. She was being sued for not paying money, for contract disputes, for delays, all of these things. And I found it odd that nobody backed her up and everybody saw it. If I saw it, they saw it. So
No one backed who up on what?
no one backed Bronwyn up when she was saying like this is true. You've seen it, and everybody just
Oh,
kind of
when she
sat
was
there.
going after Lisa, yeah,
Yeah.
because she was everyone everyone knows about it. It was to me what I got from that was that everyone knows about it, but everyone's like, well, who's gonna bring it up on camera? I don't want to be the one to, have to deal with the wrath of Lisa for bringing it up on camera and get threatened to get sued and
Shame
get
on
the
her
calls
for
to the
not being
lawyers
there.
and
You know, she should have signed her contract and been there to defend herself. My opinion is if it's out there to talk about, it should be fair game. And I'm not saying that everybody should have come down on her because one thing I really hate is a gang up, especially when the person's not there. But goodness, couldn't somebody have just piped in and said, "Yeah, I saw that," or anything to give Bronwyn any credibility? It was literally crickets.
I mean, nah, Mary said that it was out there, and I think Angie said it too. There was a couple people that were
Well,
like, "Yeah, no, it's
Angie,
out
I
there."
was just getting to Angie. Holy cow, Angie comparing it to Jen Shaw a little
Oh,
much.
that was great. I love how they and then they leave the part where she says, "Oh, that was a bad analogy." She says, "Yeah, that was a bad analogy." They left that part in, but they cut away from her and they kind of just focused on everyone's reaction, and they kind of made it seem like most of the people didn't even really hear her try to retract it immediately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, she tried, but well, no, wasn't really received. Everyone's gonna make something of that."
Well, but I mean, to my point earlier, how long did it take before Heather lost her ever-loving mind and jumped to Lisa's defense? So the opposite is definitely true because, in my opinion, Heather's deathly afraid of Lisa. Like, of all of those people, I
And you know
think,
what? Heather is she's just got that same relationship I think that she had with Jen Shaw is that she kind of looks up to her and thinks she's cool and she's a cool chick and I'm gonna hang out with her because she's cool and then if she got herself in major trouble and was arrested, I'm pretty sure Heather would say the same thing. She'd be sitting there in the confessional with the same snarky look talking about how she's in prison like she belongs and blah 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 blah.
yeah, good point. So
I think
basically, she has no balls. Got it.
yeah, Heather's spineless. She's a Klingon. She goes on to whoever's, the coolest girl around, and then once the time's gone, she talks trash to try to
You know,
elevate her status and do it again.
there are a lot of people who just adore Heather Gay, and obviously I'm watching as a viewer like everybody else, but I've just never understood her charm, and that's not to say that I don't get that I don't feel there's a place for her on the show. I definitely do. I just don't understand her charm, and I share the exact same opinion as what you just said. I just don't get it. But before they all head off for kayaking and fly fishing, we have to interrupt by tapping a plastic water bottle with a knife because Brittany has an announcement. This
Yeah, that was
girl,
good.
her timing, I swear, she's consistent about it. That's for sure. She's consistently awkward.
I
So
think she knew that she was like, oh, this is a good moment. The cameras are eating this moment up. I need to get in on this moment or else they're gonna cut around me like they always do.
exactly, exactly, because they were getting ready to break off into their groups, and
Hmm.
you hit the nail on the head. This girl just wanted to make sure that her announcement was there. And what was the announcement? Well, that she and Jared had gotten engaged, and then they flashed to a picture of the engagement in December of 2024, and then they come
Was well
back
done.
to her.
Yeah,
Well,
that was good.
while she is now clinging on a wine bottle to make another announcement that they broke up 2 weeks later, but they're still very much together. This girl, I think she just wants to be a fucking Osmond. I don't know what else to do or to say with it about that. I just don't. She flabbergasts me. Like, why? Why is she still with this guy?
No, I don't know. She's not. She's not. She just thinks she is.
Well, in her mind, she
As a
is,
guy,
which is
trust
where
me,
the
she's not.
illness
Yeah.
lies.
Yeah.
Jeez.
She's
So okay,
she's
Meredith is
delusional.
plastered and they're fly fishing.
I love how obsessed Meredith becomes with like just getting out of the water, it seems like.
She was pretty lit. She was talking about throwing um her pole in a shape of a rainbow. And
Yeah, she's always good for a couple good drunk lines, you know? I love me some Meredith.
well,
She's
it's
sauce.
her voice as it is, right? So then you add a slur to it and it's just hysterical. It's just, I died. But the funniest part of the whole fly fishing thing was Mary's conversation with Dusty Gusty about trying
Yeah.
to resuscitate the poor dead fish.
Yeah, even she started to break in the confessional on that one, and I never see her break like that, you know? That was good.
It just made me, it reminded me that we see Mary as kind of a big dummy, but she's freaking clever. She is really clever. I I I thought it was hysterical. Unlike the kayaking, which I hated. I hated that whole side of things. What did you think?
The kayaking, I mean, it was, I don't know, mid. I didn't
Yeah.
take any type of, time to like really note any of it down mentally. I don't know. It was an attempt at one of those scenes, where they're like, "Oh, look at me, we're girls and we don't know what we're doing." And it
It was
was
supposed
just
to be a big reconciliation moment between Heather and Bronwyn, and it fell flat. But the fact that,
yeah, that just simply just didn't happen. Bronwyn just tried to
right,
get extra snarky about it in the confessional, like she always does with her little wink faces and
mm-hmm. But what was even
so
funnier
smug.
was that around the campfire later, they're talking about how they did. And oh, look at us. Would you have thought I'd be defending her? I was just like, okay, you guys. That is why I said at the beginning that it felt like they had sat down and written a script. Because it almost felt like, okay, now we're at this part, and that's kind of if anything, that's what bothered me. I'm hoping that this is only happening this season because, I mean, this episode because they started off with the trip, but who knows? So they're at the Provo River Resort and now it's dark and there's this campfire scene. But before that, Brittany gave everybody camcorders so that they could document the moment. And the whole premise behind that was to make fun of herself for recording Meredith, blah, blah, blah. We talked about that earlier. So now it's dark. And well, right before it gets dark, we have Heather filming with this random dude that, what is it? What did his shirt say? Do you remember?
Nah, he was just like the tour guide or whatever,
It
right?
was
Wasn't
his shirt was funny. It said something like "We'll work for hookups" or "I do hookups" or something like that because he's the guy that does the hookups of the RVs. Ha ha ha.
he?
But Heather is asking him if he is familiar with the legend of Molly Sorensen. So apparently, the legend of Molly Sorensen was married and she belonged to a polygamous colony and she escaped it. But the legend says that she spent the rest of her time taking people to this place and sacrificing them if they weren't pure. So they talk about the legend, the guy knows about it, and now we're at the campfire and we're going to have asparagus because that's what we all have at campfires.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. The reveal of that moment when she pulled out the bag, you already had the smile on her
And
face. Like,
how did you plan to cook
yeah,
these?
yeah, Mary's double stack Boca burger on a stick.
I cannot. Is that thing all the way raw? I don't know. Made me wonder. Is it pre-cooked, a Boca burger? It's
I have
not
no
even
idea.
real meat, right?
I have no idea what's in that thing.
See the way my mind works? I'm not
Mm.
even watching the show at this point. I'm thinking about
But
whether or
it,
not she could safely eat the Boca burger. But no,
but
she's gonna.
when it panned around and it showed, well, they didn't pan, but they cut around to the different ladies and they're all eating plain hot dogs on hamburger buns. That was great.
It was ridiculous. Do you really think that Angie forgot the hot dog buns and the mustard and the ketchup, or do you think that it was another thing that was just done for a moment?
For that one, I'm gonna choose to believe on that one.
Okay, I'm going to choose to believe it too, only because of the way Angie delivered it. I thought her delivery was believable.
Yeah, just
So,
the way she just shrugged it off so casually was funny to me.
yeah, oh, I should have brought, what did she say? Oh, we should have brought a grate or something like that.
A griddle, yeah.
Yeah, griddle. And I thought it was funny that the cutaway where Brittany talks about who brings asparagus, like asparagus is fancy schmance. Okay, I never really looked at asparagus as fancy schmance. I don't know that I take it to a cookout, but it's kind of a regular around my home. I don't know. So I'm with Mary. I think that if there is, in fact, a Molly Sorensen at this point, she should be fixing them a meal because this damn cookout is a disaster. From the hot dogs on the stick that I agree with Heather, nobody wanted to see Angie eating those like that.
That was
Uh
funny. I'm here
it,
for it.
it was funny. It was a funny moment, but you know what? I just thought that the whole thing was kind of I don't know. I feel like they needed to finish the episode, right? Because now we have then this is the part where it gets kind of serious and then Angie's on fire right out of the gate and they start to have a deep conversation about whether or not they were able to solve their issues. And then that's when Whitney starts talking about her failed business and how she had to fire 30 employees. I didn't realize her company was that big, first of all.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Really sad. But honestly, I have so much respect for her for just sharing her feelings and putting it all out there, talking about how, they don't have anything now and they're just trying to pick up the pieces. I thought that that was very real, and I love moments like that on this franchise.
Yeah, that was she kind of like I said earlier, she set herself up pretty good for that moment. I think she
Yep.
had kind of built up to that and kind of taken a
hmm
few jabs earlier and then she yeah, really came through in that moment and like I said, she got the whole group on her side.
Yep, I agree. It was definitely a knock out of the park. But then Brittany interrupts again. Holy cow. Could you believe it? I was just like,
That was hilarious. But I want my apology though.
yeah. And but then when she came over, did you see Whitney's face when she tried to hug her? That
Ooh,
was an amazing moment. She just like
ooh.
caught herself mid-sentence like, "Ugh."
Yeah, she was startled by it just as much as I think the viewer was. That was just a terrible, terrible timing. Her timing
Uh-huh.
is so bad that it's funny, and you like. I started to question in this episode whether she was like doing it purposely, and then I'm like, no, because I don't think you can. I don't think somebody could even. You know what I mean? It would come across as canned like the other stuff does. If
Correct.
yeah, Brittany's just
No,
she's just
sadly
that.
that's her.
Yeah, she's just perfectly tuned for television. Just
I
she's the right amount of naive and the right amount of like Just I don't know, just bad timing is
And
everything.
but she's more mouthy this season, which I like. I like that she's speaking up more because it gives us that many more opportunities to watch her stick her foot in her mouth.
Yeah,
Eh,
she doesn't seem to mind doing it anymore. I felt like
uh-uh.
she kind of is becoming self-aware to some degree.
Uh-huh.
She's kind of leaning into her TV persona. She kind of knows the way people are starting to perceive her now, and she wants to. She's like, hey, whatever, no press is bad press or whatever.
Exactly. Hence the two happy faces before she politely corrected me and told me there wasn't a sock in her hair. By the way, that came from Angie, who was on Watch What Happens Live and said that she was had a sock in her hair. So I didn't just make that up out of thin air. If you need to go after anybody, Miss Brittany, go after your co-star Angie because she's the one who said it. Meredith barely said anything, right? But she did take the time to put Brittany in her place in that moment, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I need more Meredith.
I
This,
agree. It was Meredith light, except for how it ended. Well, okay. So they head out into a trip in the woods to go see if they can investigate this legend. Why? I don't know. Why?
yeah, I wish the episode would have just ended after the campfire scene.
I agree. It goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. They kind of threaded it all together so that they would end it with this Blair Witch segment at the end, which, so Meredith freaks out and she allegedly heads into the room and the episode ends with her screaming. Okay.
Yeah, I think that stuff was done in the edit. I don't think that was like that whole Blair Witch thing and like yeah, maybe Heather's ghost story thing, but I think Heather was just trying to build up to her little walk in the woods that she was doing later. She was trying to have her big moment where she's the, mother bear and she's leading a troop and telling the story and you know what I mean? And then in the edit they kind of like organically tried to stitch it together with the video camera thing that I don't think those things really had any correlation initially.
I honestly hope that you are right about that because you said something that is kind of an oxymoron because they organically stitched it together, and that's exactly what it looks like. Like they tried to put something together to make it look organic that
Hmm.
was completely not. So I'm with you. I think the episode should have ended after the campfire. I think it would have actually had more of a to be continued feel. And
Yeah, exactly.
we wouldn't have known where we're going, as opposed to this nonsense. We know Meredith's not going to get eaten or killed by Molly Sorensen, so that was lame. But it was a good episode. I gave it a 5, like I said, because I thought it was very produced. And, to be fair, that's not their fault. That's production's fault. So hopefully we won't
I'm here
see
for
that.
yeah, I'm here for the produced moments
You are, huh?
as long as the people because what I'm here for is the reactions. I don't care how we get to the moment. What I care about is in the moment, is it entertaining to watch? Is it funny? Is
Hmm.
Mary doing her big eyes? Is Mary got something funny to say? Is anyone getting burned? Who's gonna have to explain themselves later to their husbands? Like, you know what I mean? It's just there's a lot. Like I'm as long as it's good in the moment, I'm still here for it.
That's fair. That's a good assessment. I mean, it's true. I guess I get caught up in the fact that I want it to be more reality than it is anymore. But, maybe that's just not what we're dealing with anymore. Reality is no longer reality.
It never was.
Yeah, no, I know. Listen, in my earlier years, I'd like to think that it was. Let me live in my wait, what is it? Naivety?
Naivete.
Naivete. Thank you. I knew it wasn't what I was going to say. Anyway, I've had fun talking about this. Are you excited about the rest of the season?
Yeah, I want more Meredith. I want to see how, this next arc is going to play out with Lisa reacting to all the stuff she's going to inevitably find out. Heather's going to go run and tell her with her tail between the legs.
Mm-hmm.
Brittany's going to try to suck up, and that'll be an interesting dynamic to see how they try to battle for, the perceived number two spot in Lisa's kingdom. It'll be interesting.
I think it's going to be a good season. Now, right before we close, I just want to ask a question because I know that you have probably heard that Jen Shaw is got not that much time left on her sentence, right? She keeps getting it reduced for good behavior.
No, I haven't heard that at all. That's funny.
Uh-huh. So the question is, do you think Jen Shaw will be back on Salt Lake City?
No, I don't think. I think that's a liability for the producers and the network at this point. I don't think that they want to touch that. I mean, I think that she'll definitely be mentioned. I'm sure she'll be all on social media and that she'll, her Instagram comments and such will be all on Watch What Happens Live. But I don't think, I mean, they'll maybe use her for a storyline. I don't think the network wants her on the show.
So there was a big like poll that was going around. Would you rather have Jen Shaw back or Monica Garcia? What would be your vote?
I mean, Monica's messy, but I don't think she's cut out for television. Those women will just eat her alive. Like, I don't know. I guess if I had to choose between the two, just the sadist in me wants Jen on there. You know, I just
Okay,
want to see
well,
who else she'll punch in the eye. I don't know.
stop. Okay, well, I'm going to burst your bubble because I was 100% thinking exactly everything that you just said. And then this morning, I saw from Andy Cohen's lips directly that he never wants to see Jen Shaw again.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that lines up. That's kind of how I feel. Like they're all just kind of like, I don't know, done with her, disgusted in her. They think they're better than that, and they don't want to associate themselves with the likes of that.
I agree.
Although, although I don't know why they're picking this particular case when I don't know much about the other Bravo shows, but I mean, I've seen,
Yeah, now
you
suddenly we're
know,
righteous.
yeah, exactly. Criminality seems to be somewhat common in these Housewives franchises, unfortunately.
Indeed, it is. Quite a few of them have been to jail, if we're really being honest. That's crazy. Huh.
Hmm.
Well, I've really had a fun time chatting with you. I hope you'll come back. Let's watch a couple more episodes and get together again and see if our numbers change. Mine is a 5 and you were at an 8. Let's see where we're at next time. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, no, that was good. That was fun. That was a fun episode. That was a fun episode of the show, and yeah, I just hope they keep up with it.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks. Bye. Well, there you have it, folks. Season 6, episode 1 is in the bag, and we will see what is next for this show and this franchise coming next week. I want to thank Cory for coming on the podcast. I had a really good time chatting. I thought our conversation was very interesting because we came from completely different perspectives, and I hope that made for an entertaining podcast for you. We'll be back next week with Orange County and Miami, and hopefully I'll be able to get out to the wine country over the weekend and report back on wine cellars and whatever else I happen to get myself into as I'm out here living on the verge. Have a good weekend.